Know why this is. I've never really been a conspiracy theorist. I'm not lonely. I'm not bored. I think that's part of it. People just sit home. They get a conspiracy theory. They go on YouTube or to a Reddit board or a message board, and it kind of, social media provides the inertia, the momentum that, a conspiracy theorist wants, needs, seeks, whatever. It used to be that if you were a conspiracy theory, you were just kind of the crazy uncle that showed up for the holidays, tried to talk everybody into man did not land on the moon, and then you went about your merry way back to your small town and annoyed your friends there. But now it becomes a thing. Joe Rogan's got a wildly popular podcast. I've listened to it a couple of times, and it's mostly conspiracies, at least the times I've checked in. It's his right. It's very popular. But I saw this story, and this is a great example. It's remarkable how often I get on social media. I don't read all of them. I don't read most of them, but occasionally you'll get the responses. The NFL is rigged. That game, the umps on the take, the officials on the take. It's numbing to me. Like a lot of people think that, or maybe just a lot of people on my feed. But this is interesting. So the NFL had a choice, and they put the Packers hosting the Lions on Sunday night. Now, Seattle and the Rams play earlier in the day. If Seattle beats the Rams, the Lions are out. It disincentivizes, arguably, the Lions against the Packers. So Green Bay then faces a team that season is over and the game is less relevant. Now, Detroit fans wanted the games to be played simultaneously in the 1 o'clock window, right? So, you don't know. And they wanted their Lions team believing to the last whistle they had a chance to get into the playoffs. But again, if Seattle beats the Rams, Lions are out, right? And this cracks me up because this is your classic. This thing has conspiracy theory written all over it. That the NFL, Fox, the NFL, they want Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. Well, first of all, we do. Yeah, we do. We also want the Yankees in the World Series, and they didn't end up there. I guarantee you the network that has the national championship would prefer having, Michigan, Georgia, or Ohio State, Michigan over TCU. It's a smaller brand. That doesn't mean it happens. We're going to get Georgia, TCU, and it's not going to get a good rating. So, bored people, let me try to explain why the NFL did this. I think most of you get it, and maybe I shouldn't lead a show with something that only 15 to 25% of the people think, but Green Bay's a massive brand, so they love putting him on Sunday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers is a superstar. They like putting him on Sunday Night Football. There's a huge audience on Sunday Night Football, and the Green Bay story now fighting to get in is actually captivating. They usually walk away with this division for years, but they started out, they were bad, stumbled, now they've caught fire, and it's actually a fascinating story. I said the last couple of weeks, Green Bay games are really, really interesting. Also, so yes, everybody wants Green Bay in over Detroit if you had an opportunity. Networks would, it's more fun. But remember this, if you let's say you put Green Bay, Detroit early, and if Green Bay wins, then on Sunday Night Football, you'd have the Seattle Rams game, and that's a total dud. So, and the other option would be, I'll just put Jacksonville and the Titans on. That's got playoff implications. Jacksonville has no national brand. Jacksonville's very borderline popular in Jacksonville. They're not even popular there. For a long time, they tarped off the upper deck at their stadium. And the Titans are injury ravaged. They've been a mess all year. They're not dynamic offensively. They're a tough watch. So I know probably people in Michigan thinking the Lions are getting screwed here. And, my takeaway would be just because networks do want Green Bay in the playoffs, it is fun. Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs, Packers brand's great. This is the right call. If you ran a network, you would put Green Bay on Sunday night with Aaron Rodgers, not the Titans, Jags, and you wouldn't put him at 1 o'clock. So this is the world we live in now, where it used to be crazy uncle had a theory. It was zany, and he would just go home after Thanksgiving dinner. Now, Reddit boards, YouTube, conspiracy theory lives, breathes, explodes, and just get used to that. if Green Bay gets in. You'll hear about that. And I do think they'll win. So the second story today is Jim Harbaugh. So I'm always kind of suspicious when stuff leaks. In my business, it's not just about the story, but why the story is out. Who's leaking the story? The Lakers can't keep anything private. Anything that happens in a meeting's out 15 minutes later because everybody's protecting their butt. That's why it's not a well-run franchise. When stuff leaks, it's usually for a reason. So Harbaugh, the story is now, Carolina talked to him. Why'd it leak? Last year, Minnesota did. Why'd it leak? The Broncos are. Why'd it leak? Sean Payton's getting talked to. None of it's leaking. Because Sean Payton has a job. Sean Payton has a TV job, and he doesn't need it as leverage. He's great. He's got a Super Bowl, and they're offering him a lot of money. So the question becomes, is Harbaugh trying to drive up his Michigan salary or his NFL salary? And my guess is he's driving up his NFL salary. He's going to the NFL. I wouldn't. I would stay. I don't think Carolina's got a quarterback. You can't win in this league without it. I think he's got a quarterback at Michigan. He gets the Buckeyes at Ann Arbor. I wouldn't take the job. I would let somebody else take Denver. $20 million. Harbaugh's net worth is over $75 million. He'll be miserable in 6 weeks with that situation. In cap hell, no draft picks, and Russell Wilson may be washed. But my guess here is that there's unfinished business. He was 44-19-1 in the NFL. And he did it mostly with Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick's career passer rating's in the 80s, and his career completion percentage is under 60%. And Harbaugh went 44-19-1 with Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick. And the record would have been better, and he would have had more success. He got to a Super Bowl, except for the best roster in the NFL during his time was in Seattle in the same division. And so 3 different times in his quest to win a Super Bowl, he lost to the team that won the Super Bowl. He lost to a Seahawks team in the playoffs, won the Super Bowl. He lost to a Giants team, went to the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl. He got to a Super Bowl and lost to the Ravens, who won the Super Bowl over that Niners team. So he could have been a lot better had he had an elite quarterback, had he not had the Seahawks in division. I've always thought we sort of say, yeah, Harbaugh was pretty successful in the NFL. He was wildly successful. Many great college coaches, Spurrier bombed, Saban bombed. Matt Rule bombed. Most college coaches do not work in professional football. Harbaugh works everywhere. But I also think this is something, is that Jim probably realized very early in his professional playing career he wasn't Joe Montana. He's not delusional. I think Jim also realizes that it's very hard in northern college football powers to win national championships. There's one in 19 years, Ohio State. One. I think it was 2014. That's it, in 19 years. And so you think Harbaugh, it's getting the national championship. But Jim's smart. Jim recruits. He realizes the SEC, that footprint, there's more great high schoolers. Jim Harbaugh may be totally satisfied this morning that he has made Michigan the number 1 power once again in the Big Ten. That he has momentum over Ohio State, the game is back, the quarterback's back, and he can hand the program to somebody else that has J.J. McCarthy, gets the Buckeyes, has the power blueprint to win it. Not every coach thinks they can win a national championship. Brian Kelly, Notre Dame, came to a conclusion. I'm probably not going to win a national title here. I'm going to go to LSU. First year, 10 wins, NFL guys everywhere. So the guy who's coaching Tulsa or Oregon State probably doesn't see a national championship. He sees, hey, at Oregon State, can I beat the Ducks and can I win a Pac-12 championship once in 6 years? That's an amazing goal. You don't have a state that produces enough Division I high school football talent to beat an Alabama or an LSU or a Georgia, Oklahoma, Texas, whatever it is. So I do think part of it is we view it as unfinished business for Harbaugh. How do we know Jim, who loves Michigan, doesn't feel like mission accomplished? My number 1 goal was to make Michigan football better than Ohio State. He hates Ohio State, and he loves Michigan, and he has made them king of that conference. Brian Kelly realized, I'm not going to win a natty at Notre Dame. I don't have the recruiting power here, the recruiting leverage juice. I think Jim Harbaugh looks up and says, I see my classes. I'm losing a lot of guys to Georgia, Bama. I don't want to coach Georgia, Bama. Michigan's the only college I want to coach for the rest of my life. I got him back on top of the Big Ten. I'm going to go to the NFL, take the loot, and win a Super Bowl. So I think I'd stay at Michigan for another year. I don't think unless the Chargers job came open, there's a great job out there. But when it leaks like it's leaking every time he interviews somewhere, he's either trying to gas up the Michigan money or the NFL money. And my guess today is, since it hurts recruiting when this stuff gets out, and we live in a world of transfer portal where everybody's recruiting today, it's year-round, he's probably going to the NFL. Because these rumors are not good for recruiting. And recruiting's the lifeblood of college football. That's why Ohio State and Michigan dominate their conference. They dominate recruiting. It's why Georgia right now and Alabama and LSU are dominating their conference. They dominate recruiting. It's why Oklahoma for years has dominated the Big 12. They're great at recruiting. It's why USC got really good really fast. They got Caleb Williams and Jordan Addison recruiting. So if this stuff is constantly out there, it's not good for recruiting. It tells me he's trying to up the ante and he's going pro. I wouldn't. I'd stay at Michigan for another year or two. I think J.J. McCarthy, I think they'll get back to the playoff next year. I don't think they'll beat the best SEC team because I just don't think, if you look at the Big Ten, you look at the footprint, one championship in whatever it is, 19 years. It's just, we tend to think it's championship or bust for all these coaches. And in my life discussing this stuff with them, there are other goals. Someone will win the conference, the big rivalry, the SEC East. They know Missouri's football coach knows there's limitations. He understands that he wants to win a bowl game. He wants to win 8 games. He wants to get his assistants better jobs. Everybody's got different goals. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.